Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel where we break down the science of behavior. We'll explore some of the most essential procedures in behavior science, like how reflexes work.
I have the reflexes of a jungle.
How stimuli influences our actions.
The stimuli are overwhelming.
And how motivation plays a huge role in our behavior.
Wow, a lot of people seem very motivated.
So take a seat, grab a snack, or don't, depending on your deprivation state, and let's get started.
That's funny, see? She's cool.
All right, let's start with taxonomy. So in behavior analysis, taxonomy is a way of classifying things, but we're not classifying animals or plants here. We're classifying behaviors, procedures, and their outcomes. Think of it as a system to organize our knowledge and interventions. This is a big deal because in science, categorizing is everything. It helps us keep track of what's happening, why it's happening, and how to predict future behaviors. So let's break it down into two main parts. So first we have operations or procedures, meaning the things that we do to change or influence behavior.
We must influence him in our favor with whatever means we have.
Second, we have processes or outcomes, which is what happens as a result of those operations.
All one needs to do what one can to make a favorable outcome as likely as possible.
The way we classify these behaviors and procedures really helps us to design interventions, conduct research, and to really understand behavior and how it's influenced. Now, let's dive into the 6 essential behavioral procedures. Procedure number 1 is observation, which is the foundation for all of behavioral science. Observation is exactly what it sounds like. We're simply watching behavior without interfering.
I'm just watching.
For example, imagine you're at a park and you're observing a bird feeder. You see how the birds approach, peck the feeder, and fly away. Here, you're not making the birds do anything. They're simply just doing their thing while you observe and collect data on their natural behaviors. In research, we often start with observation to gather baseline data before introducing interventions. Observation helps us understand what's happening naturally before we try to influence the behavior. You can think of this as the before in a cause and effect relationship.
It comes first.
Now let's move on to procedure number 2, stimulus presentation procedure. Here, we introduce a stimulus to see how it affects behavior. This can be anything from a loud sound to a visual cue. A great example of this is when a doctor shines a light in your eye. The light is the stimuli that causes the automatic response, so the pupil constricts. This response is elicited, meaning it's an automatic involuntary response to the stimulus. It's like when a loud noise startles you or when a bright light makes your eyes squint.
Oh yes, it's too bright in here. It's too much white.
It's not something you choose to do. It's reflexive. But don't confuse this with voluntary actions. Elicited responses are like reflexes.
Do you do that deliberately or is it just a reflex?
A reflex like a knee jerk when a doctor taps your knee. It happens automatically without your conscious decision making. This is crucial because it shows us that behavior can be automatically triggered by environmental events. Procedure number 3 is consequential procedures, where a behavior leads to a consequence.
Nick, I would advise you to remain here and face the consequences of your actions like a man.
This is the most common procedure that you'll encounter in behavioral interventions. Think about putting a coin into a vending machine. You put the coin in, which is the behavior, and you get the soda, which is the consequence. The consequence reinforces the behavior, making it more likely that you'll be putting coins into vending machines in the future.
Hey, I bought M&Ms at the vending machine and 2 bags came out.
This is an example of reinforcement. You do something and then something rewarding happens as a consequence. However, if you touch a hot stove, then the consequence is pain. This is a form of punishment, which decreases the likelihood that you're going to touch a hot stove in the future. This is an example of positive punishment, where we introduce an aversive stimulus to decrease the likelihood that that undesired behavior will occur again in the future.
If you're being smart with me, young lady, you're gonna be punished.
Punished for being smart?
Now, on to procedure number 4, which is signaling stimulus presentation. This is when one stimulus signals another that's about to occur. Think of it like a warning system. A great example for this is lightning. When you see lightning, you know that thunder's coming next.
When you see the lightning, you count till you hear the thunder.
Here, lightning is the signal. It doesn't cause the thunder, but it sets the stage for it. This is how stimulus control works. The presence of one stimulus, like lightning, increases the likelihood of another stimulus happening, which is thunder. In everyday life, stimulus control is all around us. When you hear the sound of the bell in the school hallway, you know that class is about to start. Here, the bell signals the start of something, which is class. Similarly, the sound of an approaching siren can signal us that an ambulance is nearby. This shows us how stimuli can also act as signals to help prepare us for future events. Next, we have procedure number 5, signaling consequences. This is when a stimulus tells you to engage in a specific behavior, then something will happen as a result. In other words, the stimulus signals the behavior. A red traffic light is the perfect example. The red light signals that driving through the intersection could lead to a traffic ticket, or worse, an accident. The light doesn't cause you to stop, but it makes you aware of the consequences of going through the intersection. It's a powerful way of how stimuli influences decision making. Similarly, the sound of a ringing telephone signals that answering it will lead to a conversation.
You gonna answer the phone?
In both cases, the stimulus signals the consequences of your actions. Now moving on to the next procedure. Procedure number 6, establishing operations. This is when something increases or decreases the effectiveness of a reinforcer. For example, if you haven't eaten for hours, then food becomes incredibly reinforcing. You're more motivated to eat because your body is deprived.
You need food? I need food. I'm starving.
But after you've had a big meal, food doesn't have the same appeal.
Anthony, you want some more?
No, Mom, I'm full. I can't eat anymore.
The key takeaway here is that deprivation increases the effectiveness of a reinforcer and satiation decreases it. This is one of the reasons that motivation is so important in behavior. Without understanding what motivates behavior, we can't effectively change or predict it. An establishing operation essentially evokes the behavior. It makes you more likely to act in a certain way based on your needs. Now let's talk about behaviors that are hardwired, meaning they happen automatically and don't require learning. First, we have reflexes. Reflexes are simple automatic responses to stimuli. Think about sneezing when pepper gets into your nose, or blinking when something is flying towards your eyes. These behaviors are elicited by stimuli. They don't require any conscious thought. They just happen.
Said I did it without noticing, didn't I? Just happens.
Next, we have releasers, which are specific cues that trigger behavior. For example, when a baby bird opens its mouth, that's a releaser for its parent to feed it. This is a more complex behavior than a simple reflex, but it's still automatic and predictable. Finally, we have fixed action patterns. These are sequences of behavior that occur in a specific order and always the same way. A simple example is a goose that rolls an egg back into its nest. Even if the object isn't an egg, but it's actually a rock or a golf ball, the goose will still follow through the motions of rolling it back into its nest. These are behaviors that are hardwired into the animal's biology. To sum it all up, we've covered some very important topics in behavior science, from reflexes to elicited responses and how establishing operations affect motivation, to how stimuli controls behavior and signals consequences.
Is it over?
Yes, it's over. It's over.
If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below if you have any questions about behavior analysis. Now, I'm in a deprivation state right now because while filming this, I've been starving, so I'm gonna go eat, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Dually out! I'm still gonna do that every time at the end of the video because it's my thing now.